This is a little bit shorter video, I think. Something I just kind of thought about lately that I wanted to talk about is, like, I have really loved really learning to use the Fuji cameras for everything that they offer and really taking advantage of that APS-C sensor. I used to be of the mind that, like, you had to have a full frame camera to have the best quality images. And while I still do prefer that for like my professional work and for when I want photos to have that more professional look to them, that's not by any means saying you can't do that with Fujifilm and APS-C. Like, a lot of it's going to be like getting certain lenses that will give you that look, depending on the type of work you're doing too. Like, I'm talking about like portraits, things like that, because that's more where my focus is. So like I have the 56f 1.2 on my X-T4, and that is a killer combo. But something that I kind of didn't really think about. So Fuji has taught me a lot more about using manual controls, which has been awesome. I used manual before I used Fuji, but it's really taught me a lot more by having all the tactile controls and all the little options and everything. But something else that it's taught me is utilizing different things that I wouldn't have otherwise, and it's mostly down to the recipes. I never would have considered changing my white balance or learning to do more like Kelvin and things like that. Usually I just would shoot raw and then I would just get to it in Lightroom and fix it all there, which you can do. It has actually made my life easier to set my cameras ahead of time for things like, very specifically, like when I did fall mini sessions like 2 weekends ago, because I was like disappointed that the colors coming out of my Canon are very like muted and kind of just the, and everything around me was this vibrant like orange and yellow, and I was like, man, I want it to look like that. It dawned on me, like, do what you do for your film simulations, change your white balance shift and all that. And so I did, and the photos turned out so much better because of that. And I did shoot all that on my Canons. I didn't use Fuji for my photo shoots. However, the quality, like, and the way it just saved me time because I can kind of see what I'm going to end up with, like, that was huge for me. And I know that sounds simple to most people, but it's something that I just hadn't done much with because I knew I could fix it before. It was like, okay, it's not a big deal. But it helps inspire me more when I can see the colors as they're going to look when I edit them or closer to it, because that's why I love using my Fuji cameras so much. I can see how the colors are going to come out in a way that I want them to. Like for fall specifically, I've been using the summer chrome recipe in my Fuji cameras. I think it just renders the fall colors beautifully, but I've learned how to adjust the white balance when I don't love how like red or orange it kind of tints some of the skin tones if you have people in them. But being able to do all that, not that I couldn't have done it before, I just didn't really think about it before. This has made me think of those things. So like having those Fujifilm cameras and using them as my daily camera versus like my Canons for my professional work has made a huge difference in how I do photography and how I look at it. And like I said, being able to change the white balance, not just for the ease of like editing, but also so that I can really see more of what the photos will look like, has really been huge for me, because when I can see that, it helps my vision come to life more than thinking like, how is this going to look when I edit it? Is it actually going to look like what I see right now? Because like my camera wasn't showing, because I had it on the Faithful preset, which is what I use. That's what I've always used because it makes it easier for me to edit, but like it mutes the colors a lot. Everything looks a little more green and brown. And I was like, oh, this isn't how I look. It's kind of like when you look, if you have sunglasses that have like a little bit of tinted lenses, which I do. And I always, whenever we're driving, when fall started, I was like, wow, it looks so beautiful. And everybody would be like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, never mind, that's my sunglasses. That's kind of what Fujifilm does for me. Like, it just makes those colors pop more and makes it stand out in a way that gives you that like inspiration and creativity. So I just thought that was really cool. And it's something that I've noticed. I've also been using some flash photography more than I normally would have, because I've learned how to handle the in-camera flash on these. Or last night for our family photos, my mom wanted to do them inside in the kitchen. I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring my flash. And I'm glad I did, because that did help. Like there were some issues because there's so many of us that were in the photo, and like she wanted us all spread out around the kitchen. Her idea, I don't know. It was not what I would have done for a family photo, but it was fine. But that definitely like, they're just different ways that I've learned, because I've experimented more since having my Fujifilm cameras than I did back when I really only did Canon, or even when I had Micro Four Thirds. I was shooting in JPEG the whole time I shot in Micro Four Thirds, and only recently in like the last like years since I've become an actual photographer did I realize that shooting in RAW actually would have made me like my photos more, because I didn't like the Olympus colors all the time. Sometimes yes, but not all the time. So that's something that Fujifilm has really been teaching me as a photographer, and I think it's a great thing that I've been learning more about manual controls and things. I'm still not great with like having to set a manual focus for some things because I just don't enjoy doing that. I know you can, and I know how to do it. It's just something that I don't enjoy, so I don't mess with that as much. But everything else manual, I really do, and I've really gotten into the menus and played around a lot in a lot of these. So just thought I'd bring that out. I thought that was a really cool just learning perspective for me. So